It's not wrong, Melanie, but it's the hard way. Well, since your A is 1, once you find the pair that works, you just have to put x plus 5 and x minus 9. What you have to do, grouping it 2 by 2, is when there's not a 1 here. So you've got a 1, you don't have to do this, you're making it harder than you need to. Erase that. Put a parentheses with an x in the front. And then one of your factors, what are you gonna use first? Okay, and then put your other parentheses with your other factor. When your A is 1, that's all you have to do.
Hey, Coach. No, I did it wrong. Never mind. Did I miss? I messed up my mind.
So you gotta find what multiplies to get negative 95 and adds to get negative 14. Well, honey, you don't get to do that because your A's not 1. So you gotta do the grouping thing. The factors you chose were right, so you gotta write 4x squared minus 8x plus 7x minus 14 and then group them. Let me see what you got on your sheet there. It'd be like this. So down 22 is negative 8, so you replace 22, and then you group them 2 and 2. Probably that's a difference of squares you're working on.
That means it's fine.
No, it's not, that's a difference of squares.
But if these don't have a greatest common factor.
No, it's just a difference of squares. Look on your sheet, we did several differences of squares.
We did 3, and they're all prime.
Several is 3, and they were not all prime. Difference of squares are not prime.
Not prime, they all. Is that right?
No. Alright, y'all come grab your paper and we'll go ahead and go. I did good on what you got rocking there. We're gonna look at 3 and 4. Okay, on number 1, there wasn't a GCF. 1, 14 and 95, 1, negative 14 and negative 95 wasn't a GCF, so you multiplied your A times your C, got negative 95. Then what multiplies to make negative 95 and adds to make negative 14 was 5 and negative 19. So you would just write that as x plus 5 and x minus 19. Like that. Okay, over here there was a GCF. That's better, Riley, but you're still not correct. There was a GCF over here, so you took that 5 out first, which left you with x squared minus 8x plus 16. And then you checked your A times C is 16, where it multiplies to get you a 16 and adds to get you a negative 8. -4, and -4. Now, can you think of any other way to write that same answer? You have x minus 4 twice, could I do that? Either one of those is correct, very good. Alright, so 3 was a little bit tougher, because there's not a GCF, and this time your A is not 1. So you did A times C, what's 4 times -14? I think it's negative 56. So then you need the factors of negative 56 that add a -1. So it'd be -8 and 7. But now your A is not 1. So you don't get to just write the answer like you did on number 1. You gotta do the factor by grouping. So you're gonna have 4x squared, I'm gonna put it in the order that Leilani started. 4x squared plus 7x minus 8x minus 14. Then we group them, yes sir. So my GCF of the first group is x, which leaves 4x plus 7. So what am I gonna take out of the second group?
2 and 7.
A -2 to make my signs work. 4x plus 7. So then what you have twice, 4x plus 7 times what was left out, x minus 2. Number 4 does not have a GCF other than 1, but there's only 2 terms and it's a subtraction problem, so that makes us check to see if it's a difference of squares or not. Square root of 16x squared, is that a perfect square? Yeah, 4x. Square root of 49, is that a perfect square? Yeah, 7. So you got a 4x, that's a 4, let me try to fix that, 4x and a 7, and a 4x and a 7. One of them gets a plus, one of them gets a minus. That's it.
I knew I did that the first one.
Alright, so what we're gonna do today is take that factoring on one more step to solve. Okay, everybody got what you need on that? I'm gonna erase that so we can use it next period. Oh, I pushed the wrong button somewhere. Alrighty, let's get those bottom ones off there. Let's get my normal paper. There it is. Give me a white magic marker. Okay, so let's look here. I got x squared plus 9x equals 0. And our directions here say to solve each equation by factoring. That's what they're going to say all day, solve by factoring. So first off, we're going to start off everything that we see in the beginning will be, but when we're solving, we got to be set equal to 0. So if there was something on the other side, like a 2 over there, we would have to move it, okay? Got to be set equal to 0. All right, so look at your x squared plus 9x. Solve by factoring, so we got to factor that. And your first step is to always check for a GCF.
So what is this called?
Solve, it's up there on the board. Is there a GCF with x squared and 9x? One what? What else do they both have? What's the first thing you're supposed to check for? What's the GCF? What do they both have? An x. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to take an x out of that, which will leave us with x plus 9. Everybody okay on that? Now to finish, because that's where we stopped at on yesterday and the day before. Now to finish that, will it factor any farther first off? Can you do anything with x plus 9? Does it have a GCF? Is it a difference of squares? Can't do anything good, Jalen? So now all you do is take your factors and set them equal to 0. So we got x. Set that equal to 0, that's already solved. There's one of your answers. And then we take x plus 9, set that equal to 0 and solve. So there are your 2 answers. Remember, we can have 2, 1, or no real answers.
So do we have to keep it like x equals, or can we put like 0 negative?
That's fine. Don't make it look like an ordered pair, though. It's not an ordered pair.
So just put x equals 0, comma negative.
That's fine, yeah. Okay, we're just gonna, I've picked out several, we're just gonna work a lot of these, make sure we get some good practice at it. So this next one says 4x squared minus 8x equals 0. Directions say solve the quadratic by factoring. First thing you check for in factoring is a GCF. We do have a GCF with a couple of parts here. What is it?
4.
4 what? 4x. Very good. So I take a 4x out. What is left in my parentheses? Very good, Jalen. Can it factor any farther?
Yes.
No.
Oh, wait, no.
So set both of your factors equal to 0 and solve what? If 4x equals 0, what do you do to solve that? What do you do to get rid of the 4? No.
Divide by 4.
Good, it's being multiplied, so we divide. So we got x equals 0 again. X minus 2 equals 0. What are you gonna do to solve that? Add your 2. So there's your 2 answers. Hot diggity dog. Be alright so far? So far, so far?
Is it always gonna be a 0?
Nope. Good question, no, but nope. Alright, let's look at another, see some difference of squares stuff here. Alright, look at that, we got 9x squared minus 25 equals 0. Don't forget to check for a GCF. Do we have a GCF?
Yes, 3.
3 won't go evenly into 25. What?
Oh, what am I saying?
Okay, do they both have an X? We had one like that earlier, we'll take an X out. No, so we can't do anything with that. No. No. Kobe Harding. So, two terms with a minus sign, could it be a difference of squares? Okay, so is 9 a perfect square?
Yes.
Is 25 a perfect square? Okay, so you're looking at, what's the square root of 9x squared? 3 what?
Square. I mean, X.
3x. What's the square root of 25? 5. So you're looking at those digits there in your parentheses, and what do we do with the signs on a difference of squares? Very good. Okay, so we got that. Now it's gonna take a step more to solve, so that's what we're gonna do, set each of those equal to 0 and solve. 3x plus 5 equals 0, so I got a two-stepper now. What would our first step be?
Put minus 5.
Good.
And then x equals negative 5. And it would just come out of.
Right, I'm gonna leave it, when I divide by 3, and you're gonna find this out, the farther you go in math, that it's okay to leave them as improper fractions. So I'm gonna leave that there. If you wanna put negative 1 2/3, you can. Negative 1.6 repeating, you can. Alright, now we gotta do the same thing with the other factor. So yeah, we'll add 5 like Riley said. Alright, so there's your 2 answers. Not too shabby, huh? I wonder, let me go up here to the top of my page and see if you know what this sign means. I wonder, could I write it like that? What does that mean? Plus minus means positive and negative, so you could write it like that if you want to look fancy, like Applebee's.
We'll eat there.
Alright, I'll do a couple more on this page before I flip it. You doing okay? Okay. Let's look here at x squared minus 10x plus 21. So this is the first trinomial I've thrown you. So first thing, still don't forget, still check for the GCF. Do we have one?
No.
No, so now what are we doing on a trinomial?
You multiply the
Okay.
x and
The 1x, so a times c, so
You're just
1,
gonna get 0 though.
no, 1 times 21, your
Oh,
zeros,
just kidding.
right. 1 times 21 is 21. What multiplies, it gets me 21, but adds, it gets me negative 10.
7
3 and 7.
But they need to be what kind, positive or negative? Negative, good. Now, since my a is a 1, it's a 1x squared, I don't have to group, I just put them in the parentheses. Now to solve each of those, each of them will just take one step since your a is a 1. There you go. Winner, chicken dinner. Now remember what we're actually finding, and we looked at this, what's today, Thursday, we looked at this Monday when we were graphing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the 2 places this parabola would cross the x-axis, right? Just keep that connection in your brain. So it's a little bit easy to do that. Okay, let's look at, we need to look at a dummy answer, so this will be fun. 2x squared minus 2x minus 24 equals 0. 2x squared minus 2x minus 24 equals 0.
So you have a greatest common factor.
Good, we got a GCF, what is it? 2, so we're gonna factor a 2 out in the beginning. Divide them all by 2, it's just like reducing a fraction kind
So
of.
it's
X squared
minus
minus x
minus
minus 12.
Why don't we put a negative to it? What happens?
I could have put a negative 2, but that would have made my a, right here, that would have made this be a negative. It's way harder to factor when your a is a negative.
Wouldn't, if you made a negative 2, would you get a total answer?
No. Alright, now we gotta look in the parentheses and see if we can do anything with that trinomial. Are there any factors of negative 12 that add to negative 1?
Negative 6.
No.
Oh, wait, what?
Negative 4 and 3. My a's 1 here, so I'm just gonna write x minus 4 and x plus 3. Okay, so what we've done from there is what we're still gonna do now is set each of your factors equal to 0. Well, I actually have 3 pieces there, don't I? The 2, the x minus 4, and the x plus 3, right? Look what happens if I set the first one, if I set this one equal to 0. 2 equals 0. Is that okay? Really?
Oh,
No.
No, 2 does not equal 0, right? So that's a dummy answer. So when you have a GCF that's just a number and you're solving, that's gonna end up getting tossed to the curb.
So just X it out.
Yep, so now we'll do our x minus 4 equals 0 and our x plus 3 equals 0. Have you figured out now when your x is 1 like this, it's just the opposite sign? You'll notice that? Look at your answers down here that I just circled, and then look in your factored parentheses, right?
I gotta do this.
Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're doing one where we gotta factor by grouping. Y'all ready? Get some good stuff here. I got 3x squared minus 13x minus 30 is equal to 0. GCF, do we have one?
Third.
Will 3 go into 13?
No. Sorry.
No, so don't have one. And every time I use this problem every year, somebody says that, it just, all those 3's up there make you wanna say 3.
Yes.
But 3 won't go into 30, so, won't go into 13, so no GCF, so we do our a times c. What's 3 times negative 30? So we gotta find factors of negative 90 that add to negative 13.
So it would be.
If you don't know them, you should be writing factors down right now. 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30, right.
I know it is.
Then what are they?
It's in my head.
And then you better start writing factors down.
Is it negative
kid. Good job, Leilani. Negative 18 times 5 is negative 90, and negative 18 plus 5 is negative 13. Nice job. Now our a's not 1, so we gotta group these. So we're gonna write 3x squared, and instead of writing negative 13x, you're gonna replace it with those factors. So minus 18x plus 5x, and then minus 30. Okay, now you're ready to group them up 2 by 2. What's the GCF of the first group?
3.
3 what?
3x.
We take a 3x out, we'll be left with x minus 6. What is the GCF of the second group? 5, very good. It'll be a positive 5, leaves you with an x minus 6. Okay, so we got x minus 6 in common there. We're gonna pull that. And then what was left? 3x plus 5. You're finally ready to solve now. Set each of those equal to 0 and solve. You get a 6. And a negative 5/3. How about that? Alright, let's look at something a little bit different. Still solving by factoring. 2x squared minus 50 equals x squared plus 1. Alright, so when we started this a few minutes ago, I said you gotta be set equal to what? 0. And neither side's got a 0 on it right now, so we gotta move stuff around. So I would subtract the x squared from itself and its buddy on the other side. Then I also gotta get rid of a 1, so I'm gonna subtract the 1 from itself and its buddy on the other side.
So 2x minus 51.
That would be 1x squared.
Okay, let's do this, cause this is a bad if we do it that way. Let's change this x squared plus 1 to a minus 1. I think there was an error, so we would have to add the 1 to both sides, right? Okay, now up to where Kinley and Riley were discussing 2x squared minus 1x squared is just 1x squared. And then what's negative 50 plus 1?
Negative 49.
Good, and we got rid of all that stuff on the other side. So look what we just created now. What type of factoring are we gonna do there? What's it called?
It's called a triangle.
Square root. No. Look at that.
A difference of
Difference of squares, very good. Square root of x squared is x, square root of 49 is 7. One gets a plus, one gets a minus. If you can now just write your answer, go ahead and write it, but if you're not sure, set them both equal to 0 and solve. So we get 7 and negative 7. Or again, if you want to write it fancy, plus minus 7. You're going to see when we get to the quadratic formula, if we get there next week, I'm not sure, you're going to see that's what we use a lot, is the plus minus sign. So you already got a leg up on that. Let me scoop that for you somewhere. I'm sorry, sweet. Well, yes, but we're just gonna do one more. If you can hold on for one, try to, but if not,
I
then,
can.
okay,
That's right. I've been holding calls.
you've been doing good. and positive 7. Because when you set this one equal to 0, you'd have to add it, so it's gonna be a negative and a positive. Alright. Alright, let's look at one more. We got 4x squared minus 11x equals x minus 9. Okay, so we're not ready. We gotta get it ready. What am I gonna do to get it ready?
Minus x and
Okay.
plus 9.
Subtract x from itself and its buddy on the other side. I'm gonna add 9, and it doesn't have a buddy on the other side, so it's just gonna get stuck on the end, right? So you got 4x squared. What's negative 11x minus x?
Minus 2.
No?
12.
Minus 12x.
Wait,
Negative 11 minus 1.
why didn't we do plus 9?
Now I'm ready.
Oh,
There you go. The 9 didn't have an x, so we couldn't add it with the x. We just had to stick it on the end.
why is it still 4x squared?
Why? What did you do to 4x squared? I didn't change it.
Minus x?
X squared and x are not the same. You can't, it's gotta be like terms.
So what I need to do is minus x and plus the 9. So 4x squared.
There you go. Alright, so now we've got it ready. Is there a GCF?
No.
No, so we gotta do 8 times c, 4 times 9, 36. What multiplies it gets you a 36, but adds it gets you a negative 12.
6 and negative 6 and 6.
No.
About
6 and negative
6 times negative 6 is negative 36. We got a positive 36.
6. Negative 6, negative 6.
There we go. So we're gonna substitute those in now. So we'll have 4x squared minus.
Couldn't you just do 6 and 6 too?
No, cause that would make a
Oh,
negative
oh,
12.
oh.
That's okay, I like it, y'all are looking at stuff. Alright, so now let me scoot it up, cause I don't wanna lose somewhere again, and we're gonna group those 4. What's a GCF of 4x squared minus 6x?
2x.
2x is right, Mr. Rogers. Leaves you with what?
2x and parentheses 2x minus 3.
Yes, sir. And now remember, I want the same signs when I take my GCF out of this side, so it's gonna be a 3, you're right, but do I need to take a 3 or a negative 3 out to make it have the same signs?
Negative
Good. So negative 6x divided by negative 3 is a positive 2x, and that's what we got the first time. 9 divided by negative 3 is a negative 3, and that's what we got the first time. Hey, looks like we got the same thing twice. Let's see. 2x minus 3. And what was left? 2x minus 3. So now when we set it equal to 0 and solve, I don't really have to solve both of them, do I?
Only one.
Right, because you're gonna get the same answer. It's the same thing, right? So you add your 3. 2x is 3, and then divide by 2. You get x is 3 halves. I was trying to scoot it up. Let me scoot it up now. So, what does that mean? Why did we only get one answer?
It's squared because there's 2 of them. Oh, because it'll go to 0. Oh no, what? There's no solution.
Okay, remember, let me rewind a couple of pages. Okay, well, on this one, when we got 3 and 7, those are the 2 places that cross the x-axis. So on this one, fast forward, we just got,
Crosses at the same place.
oops, we just got 3 halves. So what does that mean?
They cross at the same plane.
Okay, so 1 1/2 is 3 halves, so it'd be right there. So that means its vertex just sits there. Remember we started this on Monday, we said we could have 2 solutions, 1 solution, or no real solutions, and that's what the 1 solution looks like. It either sits on the axis, or if it's upside down, its head hits the axis, right?
Supposed to answer it, right?
Yep, x equals 3 halves, that's it.
We're good, right?
Alright, so what we're gonna look at tomorrow we're getting close to, being able to solve we've got 2 methods already. So we're getting close to all the rest of them. All the rest of them involve being able to work with square roots. So we're gonna review working with square roots tomorrow. Okay, all right with everybody? All right, that'll be a wrap.